I'd like to do a quick interpretation of American Gothic for you. But first, I'd like to do a quick description which will help us in the interpretation. So the first thing I want to do is make a list of everything that I see in American Gothic. Now I'm going to start with those items that you're likely to have forgotten to make a note of when you made a list of those things that you saw in the painting. First of all, right up here we have a weather vane. Weather vanes are very important on a farm because it tells you if there's likely to be rain or not, because usually weather travels from west to east with the wind. Over here is the steeple of a church, an item that can be easily overlooked, but definitely can add meaning. Over here on the porch are a series of plants. There's one in particular, the snake plant, that is significant, and once again, a peek behind the curtain of this painting. Over here, we have a brooch. The brooch is a cameo, which is carved shell. It's also probably a family heirloom, something that gets handed down from generation to generation. Let's go with the more obvious things. We have the pitchfork. We have the overalls. We have a button. We have a shirt with stripes. We have a gold button. We have glasses. We have a man. We have a jacket, a barn, trees, a farmhouse, the supports for the roof. Over here we have the woman with a piece of hair hanging out. Not quite as obvious as you would think. Over here, she's wearing a dress and white-collared sweater probably. Over here, we have a roll-down shade for the sun, and it looks like back here we have a porch door. I believe I've covered most things in here except for the windows on the farmhouse, of course, the vertical lines and the horizontal lines here, and the one thing that we really need to make note of, and that is something that people tend to overlook even though it is the most important thing arguably in this entire painting, and that is the Gothic window. Take a look at this window. Far too big for this farmhouse, you might argue. We'll get back to it later. But a Gothic window is the kind of pointed arch window that you would see in a church most commonly. Okay, let's go on and take a look at some of the things that came before this painting. This is a painting of Grant Wood's mother, and it came the year before American Gothic. So this was painted in 1929. If you take a look at this painting, you'll notice some very big similarities. First of all, we have the same plant that's on the porch. This is a snake plant. It's a plant that makes it through drought and heat and all kinds of bad weather, and it lives to thrive. Over here, we have a brooch. Once again, the family heirloom. The collared farm dress that you see her wearing. Let's go back to American Gothic now. Now that we've named everything in the painting, it's time to try and figure out what Grant Wood was trying to tell us. Grant Wood died a long time ago, but American Gothic can still speak to us. What do we know about this farm couple? Well, is one thing that we don't know. We don't know who these people are. In real life, we know that the gentleman was Grant Wood's dentist, Dr. McKeeby, and the woman on the left was Grant Wood's own sister, Nan. So these two people weren't actually related, and we don't know whether this is the farmer with his daughter or if this woman is the farmer's wife. We have no way of knowing unless there's something in the painting that tells us. Let's try and figure out what we can about this couple. First of all, take a look on the porch. there is a snake plant. So we can assume that the snake plant is telling us that these people are hardy and have made it through a lot. Take a look at the overalls. Do you notice how they look worn? Look at the man's hand. Do you see how the man's hand looks as though it also has been worked hard? Do you see how we have this church steeple back here telling us that perhaps these are church people? That would make sense, wouldn't it? Especially given the fact that they have this Gothic window on the farmhouse behind them. Notice the brooch. The brooch, of course, gives us a sense that they've been family people. It's an heirloom, so it's gone down from generation to generation. But now let's take a look at this. Not everything is as perfect as we would think it is. Look at the little piece of hair coming out of her ponytail. That would lead us to believe that not everything is as perfect or as symmetrical. Symmetrical means the same on both sides of a center rectangle. It's a very conservative way of setting up a painting. And so with this little piece of hair here, Grant Wood is saying maybe not everything is as perfect as the painting would give us to believe at first look. Now, getting back to the way this painting was set up. Artists don't just throw things willy-nilly all over their canvas. They set them up in a way that will communicate what they want to communicate as effectively as possible. So here, as I mentioned, we have something that's very symmetrical. If we draw a line down the center of this painting, there are more things that are the same on both sides of the center vertical than are different. We have person, person, roof, roof, farmhouse, farmhouse, sky, sky, trees, trees, and even the edge of the roof here. So there are things that are the same and there are things that are different on both sides, but there are many more things that are the same than are different. So this is a symmetrically balanced composition. And to top it off, where do our eyes go first? That would be in the center. So beyond that, let's see how Grant Wood set up this painting. All right. The thing you got to understand is that this entire painting is based on a motif. And the motif is very important to the structure of this painting. So, what is that motif? Well, let me give you a hint. The hint is, take a look at the Gothic window and see how many times you can find this shape repeated in this painting. Pause the video and take a look now. I want you to take a look at this woman. Do you see her proportions? Take a look at where her shoulders are. Take a look at where her chin is. That's fairly standard. Look at the distance between these 2 points. Now, take a look at this woman. Do you see something strange? Her chin is up here and her shoulders somewhere down here. What's going on? Well, let's see. Okay, so back to the motif. Here we have the oversized window. Well, if you said that you see this shape here again, you would be right. Notice this. Now, where do you see it again? Correct. If you take a look at the man's overalls, you will see that shape appear yet again. Where else would we see that? Okay, watch this. If we draw from the top of his head down to his shoulders, top of his head down to his shoulders, and down his arm, do you see that? And then, of course, We can take a look down the buttons. And then over here, why are her shoulders down here? Because she also is an echo of that motif. Do you see that? And then, if we go from the top here, down here, you can see yet again. And if you wanted to make the argument that the windows back here could also be a repeat down the middle, you could do that. See it? The entire painting is based on the Gothic window that we see over here. So important. It tells us what we need to know about these people, and it sets up a basic structure for Grant Wood's American Gothic. Next time you see a painting, take the time to look at it. Take the time to really look at it so that you can find out what those things are that the artist was trying to tell you. Even if it takes a little while, it's usually worth it.